I think I got it straightened out now. I just
All
muted
right.
the YouTube video.
Do you have
Okay.
anything to say about this particular video, or do you want me to keep playing? I haven't watched it. So much
Well,
going on.
that particular video that you played earlier about me was at the time when I was pretty new to YouTube or to really any social media, pretty new. So, but what had happened was if you go to my YouTube channel and if you look at the community tab, you can see the emails that I sent to Darth. That was in March of, I believe, 2019. I sent him 2 emails. And since then, I've also repeated again. In fact, one time I sent it not only to him, but in the header, I listed it with 20 other Christians so that Darth could not deny that I sent him those emails. So there are literally 20 other people who received those emails as proof that I had sent those emails to Darth.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. It sounds like you did your work. Almost sounded like you were in a deposition.
Well, the thing is that I think prior to that meeting, when I was with that was at the time that Smokey Saint had me on. I'm not sure if it's that same time, but there was one time, I think it's this same occasion, where Smokey Saint had invited me on to be the guest speaker. And in that same chat is when Darth came in, and Darth had the mental, I want to say, he had the mental state of mind, let me put it that way, to say that I am running up the clock as if I'm wasting his time. So here I am as a guest speaker. I didn't plan on speaking with Darth. It was not my intention to speak with Darth, and I did not know for sure whether Darth would be in there. I had anticipated that he might come in, but the day before that, I had made it clear to Smokey Saint that if he did come in, that I had no plans. It was not my intention to speak with him. Now that channel has since been deleted, as you probably know. Smokey Saint, that channel is no longer visible. But I think on one of my earlier videos, I think I actually copied and pasted the text of the messages that I posted into that, Smokey Saint's video to show that the day before that I had made it clear to Smokey Saint that I wasn't intending on speaking with Darth. But anyway, Darth came in and, it's as if I'm wasting his time,
Right.
So it just goes to show that I think he's very extremely arrogant,
Oh, there's no doubt about
you
that.
know.
Yeah.
So, but that would be one thing that I'd like to say about that particular occasion. Yeah, definitely. If you have any questions for me, I'd be more than happy to answer. I mean, I will answer some questions. There are other questions I will not answer, but if you want, I can answer your questions, or if you want to continue with the video, that's fine. Either way.
Yeah. Well, I've just been analyzing Darth a little bit, as I guess you've noticed, because I think that what's happening in what I'm analyzing is, well, obviously, like you said, he's very arrogant, and his voice and tone of speech, manner of speaking, is quite cringe and condescending. So he's got those two things working against him. But I think he has an argument that people aren't understanding, and he never really gets to the end of it. And he seems frustrated that people won't follow his framework. And I'm just trying to analyze that for what it's worth, because like when your name Darth Dawkins debunked, I'm sure you can find footage of him acting arrogant and acting like a prick. That's easy to do. But as far as showing that his argument doesn't work or it's flawed, that's more what I'm interested in. If you had anything to say about that.
Yeah, his argument boils down to basically, I think, the same thing as anyone else's argument. We're all in the same situation. Now, he wants us to think that he is not in that situation. I thought about that many times. The greatest minds down through the centuries have not been able to answer what Darth calls the ultimate question, does God exist? Yet Darth has outdid all of those greatest minds. He has came up with the answer. He knows that God exists. And when you strip away everything, when you bring Darth to his foundation, what does he come up with? He comes up with the Bible. That's his foundation. Now, if anyone wants to buy into that, go for it. But that's his ultimate foundation. And he admits that it's a circular argument. He admits that. So his foundation is circular. He has criticized other people for being circular. I just finished a web page where I had another Christian by the name of Paul Ross. And by the way, Paul Ross is friends with Darth. And not only that, Darth Dawkins has went on record as commending Paul Ross. He has given compliments to Paul Ross. So I communicated with Paul Ross, and I asked him, what do you think about Darth's philosophy?
You're not actually entertaining the...
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. And Paul Ross came to the conclusion that Darth has a double standard when it comes to his philosophy. And so, yes. Mm-hmm.
The circularity?
Not only circularity, but a double standard. Because he criticizes others for having a double standard, and yet he admits that he himself has a double standard. So, and I'm not talking about only morally. Paul Ross said that he has both a moral and a philosophical double standard.
Yeah. So I was tripping out on the avatar there. Is that you doing that?
The one that I just did, what it says, pure 100%. Yeah, that's the YouTube banner that I just completed this morning. That's on my YouTube channel now.
No, you had my avatar.
Which one was
right
that?
There. It's right there. I see it.
You talking about where it says on mine, or are you talking about on yours where it says JG? Which one?
JG.
Oh, okay. I see the avatar now on the right, but I didn't do that. I didn't do that.
Huh.
Someone else must have did that.
Someone else,
or it's on your end because I didn't do that.
Interesting.
It could have been something I inadvertently did. It might have been. But that wasn't intentional if I did that.
There it is. It's moving around.
Yeah, that's not me.
But so yeah, let's look at the argument. So when you're making an argument about a theistic argument about a creator, you're going into an inductive theory, right?
Well, here's the thing about what I'm doing. Because if you want to speak about my worldview or ask questions about my worldview, see, I came to the conclusion before I did anything, before I did the website, before I did the quiz, the position that I wanted to take was that I would not go into my own worldview. Now, the reason why I don't do that is because as I listened to Darth himself, Darth has on multiple occasions said that it is not necessary for he or for himself to say anything about his own worldview in order to show another person's worldview. So that's where I got that actually from Darth. So I deliberately do not make an effort to say anything about my own worldview. Now, I may do it implicitly, but that's not intentional. I'm avoiding the, doing it explicitly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that's basically...
I think that's the same thing Goddess Girl tries to do, right? With her epistemological nihilism. She essentially tries to critique other people, but not let them comment on where she's coming from.
Well, it could be the same thing she's doing, but based on what I've heard from her, she pretty much argues both ways, because I've heard her argue pro Christianity and con Christianity. So I think
right.
but that's not what I'm trying to do. So there may be a similarity there, but that's not what I'm trying to do.
It was on a video I just played with Ken Ami. She tried to do that. She said, it's not important what my worldview is. I'm stepping into your worldview, making a critique. So that particular technique is I think is what you're speaking of, right?
That's correct.
So I think what happens in these discussions is you would have to get the person you're talking to agree that they're not going to critique you or comment on your worldview, because their argument is contingent on the fact that we can derive knowledge from a creator, and they want to know where you're deriving your knowledge from. So they're trying to get to your starting point, and you're trying to get to theirs. So if I was to enter a discussion like that, I would probably not allow that, because it wouldn't be coherent. I would say, in order for us to have a discussion about our starting point, you need to give your worldview of where your starting point is. But
yeah, which is very comical to me, because on my quiz, and I have to add another one, but I think right now Darth has 9 starting points, but I have to add another one. So that in itself is comical.
Is 9 starting points?
Yeah, if you go to my quiz, he says, we have to start here, we have to start here, we have to start here, etc., etc. He has 9 starting points, and I'm about to add another one. The last one, I think he said, we have to start with our self-conscious, which I haven't added. But it's just, when you said that, it was kind of funny.
Yeah. Well, do you ever do you talk about your starting point? Is that something you're willing to talk about?
No, because see, that's what I was saying earlier, is that I'm not going to give Darth that weapon.
No, I mean,
I'm not going to hand that to him.
In this discussion.
But even if it's only between you and me, this still can be something that he could use later if he wants to. See, that's why he always, in the beginning of any of the chats that I've had with him, or the interactions, in the beginning of the interactions with me, as well as usually most other people, he asks, are you a theist or an atheist? And the reason why he does that is because that is the beginning, more or less, of his script. But if you don't give him that, in other words, I'm not giving him that weapon, so he has nothing as far as actually directly, putting me in a script. He cannot do that because he does not have that weapon. So I'm more or less basically neutralizing that part of the discussion.
Yeah, and that's interesting, because he wants to have a discussion about a worldview with a creator versus without a creator. So that's obviously why he asked that question. So when you prevent him from doing that, it's an instant stalemate. Like, there's nowhere to go.
That's right. So, and even in the video you showed, where he tried to get me to answer that, and when I wouldn't answer it, that's when he left. He said, oh, well, this is just a waste of time, Smokey. There's no point in continuing, which he was right. There is no point in continuing, because I'm not going to give him that weapon.
Right. So that's interesting, because you're calling it a weapon, but it's merely information about yourself. So for it to be a weapon, how do you take that step?
Well, when I say a weapon, what I'm trying to say, I guess, is in other words, it's almost like I'm taking that out of his hands. You see, I'm taking that ability to counter what I'm saying or to use it against me, which he does. I'm taking that away from him. So he's left with empty hands. He doesn't have anywhere to go. That's what I meant to say when I
understand, but if you're a boxer and he's a boxer and he steps in the ring and you're like, you know what, I'm not even going to step in the ring with you. You're not going to be able to punch me. You're not going to be able to defeat me. Like, you can take that route, but I think that you're just declining to get into discussion with him is what you're ultimately doing.
Well, in a way, that's true. That's true, because I'm not online. It's not my objective to get into a discussion with him. In the beginning, it was. When I sent him the emails, that was my intention at that point.
Because you're not really overcoming him, you're sitting from the sidelines critiquing him and
Yeah.
debunking him, but you won't engage because
Because it's not my intention to. And he
Yeah.
has tried to engage with me before. He has tried to. But let me put it this way. He carries a pretty heavy sword. But like Shakespeare said, the pen is mightier than the sword. So I'm happy doing what I'm doing. It doesn't have to be right now. At this point in time, 3 years later, it is not even necessary, I feel, for me to have any type of a discussion with him.
Yeah, I see what you're doing. So there's really nowhere to go with you, I guess.
That's right. There's nowhere for him to go because I've taken that away from him.
You can't win an argument with you because you won't argue with him, but you can critique him. So I mean, that's
Exactly.
you're okay,
Beautifully
you're okay
said.
with,
That's it.
yeah,
I'm okay with
I mean,
that.
You're okay with that. So I do kind of understand that perspective. I think Godless Girl has adopted that, perhaps from you. I don't know the timeline. She's trying to do that too. We got to get Grandma out of the comments section.
But yeah, as far as whether she adopted that from me, I don't know. I mean, it could have been, but I don't know if she did. But Darth has said sometimes, I think in some of his videos, he says something about, he asks usually, what is that person's worldview? That's a common question that he usually asks. And like I said, if he doesn't have that, then he can't continue his script. It's like it's neutralizing the beginning of the script.
Yeah, I agree. Mm-hmm. In his position, back to the analogy of a boxer, though, he's in the ring with his hands up. I'm the champion. If we had a bunch of Darth Dawkins debunked, just in the crowd, he would be a champion in his own right.
Yeah, I agree.
Because no one would contend with him, but they just comment on him. So I understand. You see that your position is you're satisfied with it because there's plenty of people that contend with him. You like where you're positioned.
And one more thing I'd like to say about that is that, I think this was maybe back in I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, but I was in Clubhouse and Darth, now when he sees me, he usually just either kicks me out immediately or it's somebody else with him. I can't say it's him. Somebody is kicking me out. So there are people that are allies with him that are kicking me out if they see that I'm in the room. But there's another thing that he has did. He says, he approaches me with an ultimatum, which he's done on a couple of occasions. He said, okay, I see we've got Darth Dawkins debunked. So you have 10 seconds now to come forward and tell how you debunk me. So he gives me an ultimatum, but this was another thing that I had sent when I sent that message to the 20 other Christians. That was another thing I included, that I said, that's how Darth is approaching me. And the question that he had, when he tries to approach me, he says, how do you debunk me? And I answered him in an email, more than one email, saying, it's not so much that I'm debunking you. You are debunking yourself. You don't need my help. What you are saying debunks yourself. So that was part of the email that I sent to those 20 other Christians. And then after I did that, he still asked me later on how I debunk him. Even though he'd received my email along with 20 other people.
Yeah, you've put him in a little bit of a compromise.
What you actually need to do is to support your worldview. So if you believe there is no God required to explain our existence, then you need to back up this view. And if you can do that, and your mechanism is superior to an intelligent agent, then you have a case.
Otangelo, I agree with everything you said 100%. That would be if that was my motivation, or if that was my intention. I would agree.
Yeah, so what is your worldview then?
Well, I don't know if you missed it, but I make a deliberate attempt not to say anything about my worldview. And the reason why I do that is because I have quotes of Darth himself where he has said it is not necessary for him to say anything about his worldview in order to show someone else's worldview. So actually, I adopted that from him.
Yeah, so I say that I think that intelligence is the superior explanation for the complexity, the order, and all the features that we see in the natural world than a non-intelligent agent. So this is my argument.
Beautiful. If that's your argument, Otangelo, go with it. Run with it. See, I'm not the person that's saying you have to agree with me. I'm not the person that says that you have to listen to what I'm saying and that it's my way or the highway. I'm not the one that's saying that I've got this ultimate truth or this ultimate package, and if you do not accept it, I'm going to ban you or block you. Okay, so I'm all for you saying what you just did.
Right, so you have actually no position to defend or to proclamate?
That is correct. That is deliberately what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to defend my position because it's not necessary, even according to Darth Dawkins.
Yeah, but you said that you wouldn't defend yours because he didn't be willing to defend his.
No, now I didn't say I wouldn't be willing to defend.
So what do you have to say in what I just said?
Okay, what you just said, I think you were asking me something about my worldview. You were asking me what I defend my worldview, correct?
Said that I defend my worldview by saying that I believe that intelligence is a superior causal mechanism and explanation for the physical universe and our existence rather than not. So if you agree and you think you have a more case adequate worldview and explanation for our existence, I would like to know it.
Okay, so the part I agree with is that I am all for you expressing your view. That's what I agree with. You should be able to express your view freely, without any suppression, without anyone blocking you or muting you. That is the same for a Muslim, for a Hindu, for anybody. It doesn't matter to me. There should be freedom to express without being suppressed. That's what I'm for. So when you said that earlier, that's what I'm referring to.
Yeah, but you said that you would not be willing to make your own case because Darth said that he wouldn't make his. But I just did make my case.
I didn't say that I wouldn't be willing to do it because he wouldn't make his. I said I'm not trying to do it deliberately. And the reason why I'm not trying to do it deliberately is because Darth has said on many occasions, he himself has said that it is not necessary for him to say anything about his worldview in order to show someone else's worldview. Okay, that's what I said.
Okay, but now it's not Darth, it's me here having a conversation with you. And I would really like to know what you have to say in regard of my worldview, and if you disagree, if you have something better. I would really love to dismiss mine and to adopt a better one if someone can provide one.
Yeah, and that's what I was telling Jay Gee earlier. I was telling him that I don't try to say anything about someone else's worldview except Darth's. My motivation and my objective online is totally only aimed at one objective. So you can have your own worldview. That's fine. It doesn't bother me at all. I hope you continue to do whatever you're doing. If you have a YouTube channel or Clubhouse, more power to you. I am for the idea that you should be able to say anything you want about your worldview without being suppressed.
Yeah, you just repeated yourself now.
Yeah, so I'm trying to make myself clear.
Yeah, so what is your motivation for doing what you do?
Okay, my motivation, you could see that actually under my profiles, both in my YouTube and in Clubhouse, but I will say it verbally. My motivation is to show the inconsistencies of Darth's worldview. That's basically what it comes down to. And he himself has said that the Christian worldview, no, let me take that back, because it's not my motivation to expose the Christian worldview. I am rather exposing what he addresses is his own worldview. That's what I'm trying to pinpoint. So there may be people who think he's a Christian. There may be other Christians that think he's Christian. There may be Christians who think he's not a Christian, but that's not what I'm trying to do. My motivation is aimed at showing his worldview and the inconsistencies and the errors in his worldview according to himself.
Yeah, I'm driving right now. I'll maybe join in later again, okay?
Okay. Thank you. I think there's someone by the name of OK for Christ's sake. He's raising his hands. If you want to, I'd be more than happy to, answer.
Thank you. I don't want to derail the considerations about Darth Dawkins' worldview and anybody's motivations for debunking them. I don't want to derail the consideration, but I did want to ask JG not me out of here as if he were Darth Dawkins just because Otangelo insists. Because that happened to me. I found myself in a sacred hangout contemplating sacred topics, and Otangelo says, "Throw him out! Throw him out! I insist," as if he were Darth Dawkins himself. Now, why Darth insists on others being ejected, I do not understand, I guess. But I didn't like it when Otangelo acted like Darth himself and said, "I insist, throw him out." Maybe he wanted to mute my words. Maybe he didn't want my worldview to be confessed. I don't know why Darth is in such a habit of ejecting others and insisting that his gatekeepers eject others. I don't know why he gets triggered so easy. I don't know why. But one thing I did want to exhort Jay, that if Otangelo gets triggered to say, "Throw St. Tommy out," please consider not graciously complying, because there's always a reason for every petition of ejection. There's always a reason. Is it to shut down the consideration? Is it to besmirch someone? Is it to straw man them? Is it to declare that they're a troll? Or whatever the reason is, there's always a reason for every request or demand to eject another contemplator or interlocutor, if you must. Anyway, thank you. Thank you for accommodating my petitions to Jay, exhortations, if you will, and a little bit of my worldview, subjectively beheld. Thank you.
And if you don't mind, I'd like to add one thing to what he just said, because in one of my interactions with Darth, where I was in, this was one of the first ones, I think it was actually the first one, where I was in Jungle Jargon's YouTube live stream. Darth did exactly what this gentleman said. He went to Jungle Jargon, and because I would not engage with him, he went to Jungle Jargon and said, "Look, this guy is not, saying or not coming into the live stream. So I think we've given him a chance, and now I want you to eject him." So that has been a thing that he does commonly. And the reason why, you asked, why does he do that? Now let me give you my theory of why he does that. Is because Darth hates someone that can speak freely. He hates that. That's the bottom line.
Yes, he does seem to have sensitive ears. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I say, can you repeat that? What does he have?
He has a aversion to free speech, apparently.
Aha. Yeah. Hey,
Yes.
just want to plug Math Pig. He is a decent atheist, and he allows people to come in his show to differ with him, and he don't kick them out as far as I can see. So there's a reasonable way to tell somebody to fuck off, and he does that quite frequently in his show, but he lets them stay.
That sounds honorable.
Yeah, he's a pretty decent guy.
Yeah.
He grew up in a Christian home, but he came to kind of have aversion to it.
It sounds like he even behaves decently. Wow.
Yeah, pretty good. He's come into Ace's show before.
I would say it takes a strong person to be able to be critiqued by another person and listen to what they have to say about them and not be able to critique them back. It takes a special situation or a special person to be able to endure that.
Yeah. The biggest problem. Go ahead.
No, you. Sorry.
I don't have a lot of time here. The biggest problem Jesus had wasn't really so much with, atheists or people come into his group and besmirch him, other than the religious people, the very super religious, who towed the line to 613 laws, and then they added laws on top of those, and they thought they were right. They had ego problems, and that's mankind in general. When we're stuck in religion, we tend to be egotistic.
Well, I think Darth has shown clearly that during the past 10 years or 12 years, whatever version you're watching, because it goes from 10 to 12 and then back again. But anyway, he has a record of showing that he is very intolerant to other ideas. He is very intolerant to somebody that speaks freely. And it's shown by his suppression tactics, blocking, muting, banning, or also passive aggressively by forcing you into a script or giving you an ultimatum like he did me on more than one occasion, where he starts the conversation saying, well, you have 10 seconds to come up here and give your view, and if you don't, I'm going to mute you or I'm going to kick you out. So that's passive aggression. So Darth loves passive aggression.
Yep. And he says, don't overtalk me.
That's correct.
Now, I don't want to solicit a personal confession unstrategically, but I'll throw this on the grill of contemplation nonetheless. Is the hobby of debunking Darth Dawkins a little stale?
You hit it. You hit it, because in one of my videos that I did last year, it was the one, it's called, I think his worldview, that, I basically did a video which I think I titled it something like it was, in other words, it was I want to say the point I was making in the video was to show that it is no longer even necessary at this point in time to debunk his worldview. He has on multiple occasions debunked his own worldview according to himself. He is totally destroyed his own worldview by what he says according to himself. So what you just said, it was beautiful, because that is correct. I mean, and then in that video, or shortly after, I even said, right now I'm not even focusing so much on his worldview anymore. And you'll see a change in my videos after that point. You'll see a change where I didn't really say very much about his, what he was as far as his worldview, because his worldview has already been destroyed. So I think I agree with what you said.
I surmise that you have debunked Darth Dawkins' worldview. Maybe he wouldn't let you debunk it to his face. Oh no, maybe he could not bear that. Oh hell no. But no. I surmise that you have had interest in debunking his worldview, and that you have done it several times, or he has done it to himself, or something like that, I surmise. But I also note that your channel name is Darth Dawkins Debunked. Yes, I noticed that that name or that declaration still stands as an avatar of your general prime directive or internet intent or whatever. I do note that you may still be in the habit of Darth Dawkins debunking, or at least his worldview.
Yeah.
Interesting. Is Darth Dawkins' worldview really a straw man in your mind?
Yes. I'd say
Okay.
it would be a straw man, because not only is it a straw man for himself,
Yes.
because if you analyze his worldview, really,
Yeah.
he's going north, south, east, and west. You don't
He's
know
quite-
where he's going.
So his worldview
You know?
is not stagnant; it's dynamic.
Yeah, he's going in all directions. So, I mean, try to pinpoint anything that he says about I'm not just talking about things that are what he might call secondary or, to a lesser degree, but I'm talking about foundational issues. He has debunked himself on foundational issues, which he himself says that if they were shown to be false, or if there was shown to be some type of a contradiction on those points, it would disprove the Christian God. Now, I did remember, I was trying to think of that video. It's called A Defeater for Darth's Worldview According to Himself. That's the name of the title. But if you watch that, or if you've ever seen it, it shows not only in the video, but I included several links in the text area to show how that is a defeater for his own worldview according to himself.
Okay, here's another inquiry of contemplation, and it may seem ridiculous, and truly it may be, but is Darth Dawkins' worldview objectively binary?
That one, I don't think I'm going to say anything about that one now. Because now the reason why is because if you see my channel is talking about what Darth says, I've never seen anything or heard anything about him speaking about what you just said. So because of that, I don't have a comment on it. It's not because
Very
I'm
good.
trying to escape, but it's just that he has not said anything about that
I
to
understand.
my knowledge.
I understand. Let me pare down the inquiry, the contemplative inquiry, just a wee bit. Here it goes again. Is Darth Dawkins' worldview objective? It's a tough one.
Well,
Think
yeah,
about it.
but see, in order to answer that, I have to go against my own objective, because now you're asking me something that would really be based on my worldview. You know, in other words, I would have to speak from my worldview, which is what I'm trying to avoid in a way.
Of course, of course. Well, I still think it was an interesting inquiry, because I think our Darth, at least at times past, has claimed that his worldview is both stagnant, objective, and binary, at least if my memory serves correct. He goes around brandishing Van Tivian apologetics as if it were objective. And he does so, shall I say, violently? Well, however he does it. But he brandishes his opinion, worldview, as if it were objectively God's. Yep, as if his worldview and God's were one and the same.
I will agree with you on that one. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. It's just Theo poetry, sir. It's just Theo poetry.
I don't think he's quite doing that. I think he's using the idea of objective truths that he gathers from God in his argument. I think he still has obviously a subjective view of the world, being Darth Dawkins, but I think in his theory, he claims that there's objective reality and objective truths and objective morality.
Who is the objective truth?
It would be God.
How about Jesus? Same thing?
Not the same thing, but yes.
Okay, cool. Just asking. They're just contemplational inquiry.
Do you? So you? Yeah. Triple D. You typically don't answer any questions in order to hold your position consistent.
Yeah, that would be correct because, like I said, I'm not trying to explicitly give my worldview because I don't feel it's necessary for my objective.
So when someone asks you if you think that an objective truth exists or objective reality exists, you would decline to answer that?
Basically, that's correct. Yes.
You do have thoughts on that, but you just decline to answer?
Yes.
How can one objectively refute something that doesn't objectively exist? It's just it's just an inquisitional. It's a contemplative inquiry. Feel free just to say, "Shut up, St. Tommy." It's okay. But here's the inquiry again: how can one objectively refute something that doesn't objectively exist? It's just a question. It's just a question.
Well, if you're trying to talk about something that doesn't exist, you'd have to categorize it into a category, I would say, to start. Is it physical? Is it immaterial? Is it metaphysical? And then if you're going to argue against it,
is Darth still walking the earth? I don't know. But let us presuppose that he is. Somewhere on the internet.
Go ahead.
Somewhere on the internet, bickering with himself or with others, doesn't matter with whom. But does Darth Dawkins and his worldview objectively exist?
You're talking about Darth Dawkins in the physical sense as the physical man, but within the physical man, he has ideas and concepts that he uses that are metaphysical. So it's a complex question, or it's more complex than the way you're asking. It was.
But again, I don't want to derail the consideration, which is, I don't want to derail the focus of the considerations, which is debunking Darth Dawkins.
Well, the thing that I'd say one of the issues with Triple D here is that if he's trying to put himself in a neutral position, but I don't think it's actually possible. And I kind of understand where you're coming from and try to do that. I just don't think it's possible because what happens is you try to make, I mean, I guess you can take footage of people and put it out there, like contradictory footage, and let it speak for itself. But when you get involved, there's an implication there that a worldview is involving itself. And someone could argue that even you putting together the videos of someone contradicting themselves could be an intervention of some sort. So
yeah,
it's an interesting position.
I agree because that leads back to what I was saying earlier, is that I'm trying the best I can not to explicitly give my view. So, but you are correct. I'm in a way, I'm implicitly giving a view. That is correct.
I think it's a great tactic.
Mm-hmm.
I think to argue from anonymity is an honorable way to in polemics. When it comes to polemics, not debating, polemics. When it comes to polemics, arguing from anonymity is a great tool of contemplation. And it's one that evidently our Darth Dawkins, our brother Darth, or whatever he is, doesn't accommodate. He does not accommodate contemplation from anonymity. And he just can't bear it. He runs away like he's afraid or disgusted or something.
Well, he needs the interactor to make a point.
Why won't he accommodate? Why won't he accommodate anonymity?
It's a necessary component of his argument. That's why
Triple D is because he doesn't believe anonymity exists. Evidently,
well, it actually doesn't.
It doesn't.
No, strategically, you can try it like Triple D is doing, but it wouldn't exist because there's obviously someone involved. There's an involvement. There's a worldview there. Even if you try to hide it or obscure it or work around it, it's still there. So that, you could try to make arguments of how to prove that's true.
Is God anonymous or infamous?
I don't think those are opposites.
Oh.
I mean, if that's what you're getting at.
No, it was just a
Is he
contemplative inquiry.
anonymous?
It was about the substantial nature of contemplating from a point of anonymity.
It's
impossible. It's like being an unbiased journalist,
Well, it's impossible in the sense that the anonymity is coming from a personal being. That's the part that's impossible.
Oh, okay.
I mean, where is it coming from, right? Like, to say I don't have a worldview and I'm going to critique someone's worldview is sort of an impossible task in its own right, because how is it being done without the starting point of your own worldview, right?
Well, can one ignore one's worldview for long enough to contemplate no worldview and argue from that point? For contemplative and educational purposes only.
Well, it's like hiding the ball in a way, right? Like you're hiding something purposely to contemplate it, right? You know it's there, but you're trying not to utilize it.
Is it ignoring the ball for strategic purposes, or is it hiding the ball, or both? I don't know. Sorry. I'll pull back.
Yeah, I think it is strategic, at least from what I'm trying to do. It's definitely strategic. And now I will say something about neutrality, because Darth has spoken of, a lot about neutrality. Now, what's interesting on his view about neutrality is that if you listen to him now, of course, he will say no one can be neutral. But what's very interesting about that is that there's one video that I did where Darth was speaking with an atheist, and he came straight out and said that the best position to take if you are not agnostic is to call yourself an atheist, or excuse me, I got it the other way around. The best position if you're not an atheist is to call yourself an agnostic, and he said that encompasses the idea of neutrality. So Darth was telling this agnostic, that would be the best way for him to describe his own position, would be to call himself an agnostic. And according to Darth, that encompasses the idea of neutrality. And not only that, there's a second video where Darth, this is going back, he's changed his position. But if you go back to these videos, there was another occasion where he was in the atheist helpline, and he admitted that he was telling other people that at one time he thought that being an agnostic or being neutral was philosophically, there was no problem with that. Intellectually, there was no problem with it. He came straight out and said that. So if you go back between 3 to 6 years, you'll see how Darth has changed his position on neutrality. He used to tell people that they could be neutral and that, yes, you could do that. And he has probably not intentionally, but on several occasions, he has given 3 options, being either a theist, an atheist, or neutral. He has given that to his interlocutors on several occasions.
Can it be
now, maybe he's probably not doing it intentionally, but he has did it.
Well, I find that honorable. Go ahead.
Can it be argued that claiming I don't know is not actually neutral position? Because you can have something available, you can have information available, like what's inside the box. I'm choosing not to look. I could look, but I'm not. I don't know what's in the box. It's still a position. So to claim you don't know is actually a position. It's just attempting to be neutral.
Darth has gotten himself into a pickle on that one, the idea about I don't know, because if you go back to, there was a video that Sidney Winston did, I think about 6 years ago, and I think I have that clip also, but in this particular discussion, they were asking Darth what did he think about continuity, and Darth equates continuity to the laws of physics. Now, if you listen to him now, he'll tell you, yes, we know that there's laws of physics. We can justify that there are laws of physics. We can justify that there is causality. But if you go back to that Sidney Winston video, they asked him point blank, is there continuity? Guess what he said? Those 3 words that you just said earlier, that's what he said.
Well, how would you justify laws of physics?
Oh, well, that's easy. He's got the Bible, remember? That's what his whole argument is grounded on the Bible. So everything he does is justified by the Bible.
This is one of those situations where you obviously interact in a physical world with the laws of physics, but you're unwilling to suggest how you can justify that you do that.
Well, Darth has waved. He's went back and forth.
See, he goes to Darth when I'm asking him a question.
Because
you're
Darth
you're the dark. I mean, not dark. You're the Darth. Like you sort of redirect to Darth. When someone asks you questions, you go, "Well, Darth says." Well, Darth says.
Well, you see, remember now. After doing this for 3 years, it's kind of like a little habit. But Darth has went back and forth on that. He has said that everyone assumes the uniformity of nature, and that any sane, rational person does assume the uniformity of nature. And he has also said that assumptions are not knowledge. Yet he says that he knows there's continuity. And not only that, he said that if that could be shown to be a contradiction, it would prove that the Christian worldview is false. That's in the video I did about the defeater. That's in that video.
Well, I have said to JG on several occasions before other contemplators that I made the claim that I do not habitually traffic in knowledge claims.
Which is a knowledge claim.
Says you.
It is a knowledge claim.
Says you.
Well, what do you think it is?
I think what it is when I think what it is.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not evading. I consider it a confession of belief. Okay?
Yeah, it includes knowledge. I mean, okay.
Well, whatever your certification is, but I have said it, that I habitually don't traffic in knowledge claims, and there's a reason why I don't. Now, some, like Darth, might say, St. Tommy, it's impossible to be agnostic. It's impossible. You're a Gnostic, like it or not. You're a Gnostic, and you're just LARPing as an agnostic. But I say, hey, I don't traffic in knowledge claims, and I do so strategically. I traffic in confessions of belief, and that might get on the nerves of some presuppositionalist. But, yeah, anyway, thanks, Jay.
But what's funny about that is that, Darth has said, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, Jay, but he has said, it is impossible to be neutral, yet here he is on record suggesting to an agnostic that they can be neutral and that is the best position. So in other words, what he's basically doing there, he's suggesting that somebody can do the impossible.
Yeah, I mean, you could be useful to him if he's not so aggravated by you. You could actually be of use to him because you can point out contradictions over years, and he could answer to himself. Not necessarily with you or online, but he could say, "Yeah, I did say that before, and now I'm saying this." How am I going to justify that? And because people do that, right? They change their worldview and shift it over time,
which should be the case. I believe. Now, I'm going to speak from my worldview. Let me speak from my worldview for a minute. And I'm admitting that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to break my own rule. What people should do is when they go through life, they should edit their own worldview according to reality. In other words, you don't go around telling people that it's good to jump off buildings. We don't live that way. You want to talk about how we live? Darth talks about how people live. You want to talk about how people live? We don't go up on buildings and jump off. We don't stand in a busy highway and analyze, well, I wonder, can I justify if that truck that's coming at me is going to hit me? That's not how we live.
Yeah, so when you say should, you're going to try to alleviate a moral claim by saying, I'm not making a moral ought or should. I'm just saying living doesn't encompassing dying, so it's not conducive to jump off buildings or stand in front of traffic to live.
Yeah, and the fact that there are, I think our population on, humanity, I believe it's growing. It's not getting smaller. So in general, I would say that everyone, or most everyone, is living that. That's how they live, because otherwise the population wouldn't be growing. It wouldn't
Well,
be expanding.
yeah, it's true.
Mm-hmm.
What everyone else is doing is not indicative of a moral, though.
Yes, bingo. Yeah, I didn't mean to imply that, but I'm just saying that if you look at it from, what I was saying earlier, the average person of average intelligence doesn't look at things from that position. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Well, Tommy just popped off there, but I was going to make a point that we all have a similarity. And when he was talking about trying to not make knowledge claims, he tends to do that. He tries to take the neutral point. And when I first met him, I was roaming around in Wildheart's stream. Do you know Wildheart?
I've heard that name. I don't know him, but I've heard that name.
He's the feisty English redhead, but you've probably seen him before. But I was in there trying to argue from a somewhat neutral standpoint, like I didn't want to engage in my worldview, similar to what you do. And Tommy came in the first time I met him, and he was like demanding me to give my position. So I'd been through something like that. I understand where you're coming from.
Right.
And he does it, and Tommy does it himself. And you can tell by what he just said, I try not to traffic in knowledge claims. He's always trying to do that. But the interesting thing is I think if someone, what happens is someone trolls you or follows you or stalks your material, they'll be able to point out how you are making worldview claims and in what way you're doing it through the idea of metaphysics, that you're assuming certain moral codes or moral values, shoulds, oughts, and also reliability in nature, as you spoke of, consistency in ideas, in nature, in logic. So someone could do that, I think, if they really wanted to, and point out and shape a worldview around what you're doing. I don't know if someone's tried to do that to you.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. I'm not really sure.
It might be happening as we speak, in fact.
Well, could be, yeah.
Because I personally, I don't
to
think
that massive amount of 3 people watching, maybe 1 or 2 of them.
Well, it's these things happen in time, right?
Yes, yeah, of course. Yeah, after it's posted. Yeah, I understand. I'm just joking right now.
No, I'm contemplating you myself, is what I was saying, because I see a similarity in positions I've taken and positions I still do take, and I see that in Godless Girl too. Like, I like how she uses presuppositionalism, but she's not coming from a classic presuppositional apologetic worldview. I think that's a clever thing to do, and I think it's helpful to show atheists what they're doing. But I think the overall point is that you can't really remain neutral. I do think it's an impossibility to remain neutral unless you're dead, if that's one way to put it. Like, when you're alive, there seems to have to be a position that you're taking, a position you are. This is interesting. Tommy's still in in your picture, but that's from
I noticed that. Yeah. I don't know how that's happening, but it is interesting.
Yeah. I guess I thought it was in time. It was blending in time, but Tommy's been gone for a while, so it's a delay of some sort. But okay. Well, yeah, I think
could I ask one question to both of you?
Oh, he's
not
not here though.
Oh, the other guy's not here right now?
Yeah.
Okay, for Christ's sake?
Yeah, he opted out about 5 minutes ago.
Oh, okay. Because on my end, I'm still seeing him as if he's still here.
That's interesting, because he's on your Tommy. If he's not here, he'd be talking.
Yeah, yeah, it looks like he's talking right now, but
He would know if he's here or not. Tommy, are you in the chat still?
Tommy, we can't hear you. If you're speaking right now, we can't hear you.
It's replaying the video footage from earlier on a delay on your
That's
screen.
odd.
Somehow. Yeah.
But okay, so let me ask you before you go. So did you ever have a chance to speak with Darth at least once? And I want to know, if you did, how did the conversation end? Did he kick you out, or how did that end?
Yeah, it's the first video I posted. If you want to go back and watch, it's only like 3 minutes long. It was my first interaction with him, and it's in my videos, which is
Okay.
I really started this 3 months ago. So it was my I think that's how I originally met you. You showed up in the comments on that particular video.
Oh,
It
okay.
was a stream
So-
with like 7 people, and
So did he kick you out?
yeah, I took a different angle though. I actually
Okay.
took a psychological angle on him. I said, "What, why are you talking to people this way? How do you expect them to understand and get clarifications if you're so
Okay.
rigid with them?"
Yeah, I'll take a look at that. Okay, thanks
Yeah,
for
you
letting
might
me know
like it.
that.
But
Okay.
I think I'm going to continue to look at maybe some of Godless Girls materials and critique it a little bit. So, if you
Okay.
pop in and want to talk about it too, I think it'd be interesting. I like your perspective.
Okay, thank
See
you.
similarity here. Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate it that you let me in to speak. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, cool. I'll see you around.
Okay. Are
Good
you going to
talk.
post this
Yeah,
video?
I post
You're going to
everything.
post it?
So I post
Okay.
everything. Yeah.
Thank you. Would you have any problems if I post it on my channel?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
You're going to re-critique it?
No.
Oh,
No,
just
I
post
just want to
Yeah.
post it.
All right
Yes.
then.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Good to meet you all. I'll see you
Okay.
around.
All right. Thank you. Good to meet you too. Thanks.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right. Well, that was interesting. We'll hear some more from Triple D. Tommy can get in on these conversations too, seeing that he likes to take a neutral standpoint or not traffic in knowledge claims. So we'll call it here at the 2-hour mark. And if anyone's watching, have a good day. We'll see you next time.